ended up being St. Petersburg. I'm here to share with you a little bit of insight to help you understand this story. Back in 1888, a Russian fellow by the name of Peter Demens was building a railroad called the Orange Belt Railway. And he had gotten all the way from the east coast of Florida, Lake Monroe, all the way across central Florida to Tarpon Springs, down Tarpon Springs, and he was supposed to take a cut over to Gulfport. But he didn't land swap because he didn't like the idea of Gulfport as a termination point for his railroad, and instead he took a left-hand turn because he saw where we're sitting here today, this side of the peninsula, greater opportunity. And he drove that railroad all the way down Central Avenue to the shoreline. That was called the Orange Belt Railway. And the Orange Belt Railway was built its entire distance in only 17 months. An unheard of railroad building feat. And he did it with the help of freed slaves that had come down from Georgia and Alabama that were looking for work. And these hard-working men and women that had the camps took care of the troops, and took care of all the details associated with a massive construction project like that. When they got down to St. Petersburg, the area that we know it as today, they created a colony called Peppertown. Peppertown's about a mile away from here, not too far a walk.
The north side.
And that was the first black settlement of railroad workers, and a lot of the history and heritage that we're here celebrating today. Now, the name St. Petersburg, I gave you a little clue. You know, there's a St. Petersburg, Russia, and that's where this Demens fellow was from. But at the same time, there was a guy that owned a bunch of property down here named Colonel John Williams from Detroit. And John Williams owned a lot of the land that's considered downtown St. Pete right now. But Demens had gotten all the way across the state and all the way down here by virtue of doing land swaps. He had been getting land grants all along the way, and that was how he built and financed his railroad. So when he got down here to this area we now call St. Petersburg, he and Williams got together and said, we got to give this community a name. And Williams said, well, I want to call this Detroit, after my hometown. And Demens said, no, I want to call it St. Petersburg. And the two of them got together, and after several conversations, they agreed they were going to do a land swap. Demens was going to get the land and get to call it St. Petersburg, and Williams was going to take over the hotel that the railroad had built for all the black workers that we know as the Detroit Hotel. And when we take a look around St. Petersburg today, we see Williams Park, we see the Detroit Hotel, and we see the city called St. Petersburg, which has its roots in the work of a fellow named Peter Demens back in 1888 and the foundations of this community in Peppertown. Thank you.